different tactic. Most of the rhetoric around safety is based on a belief of potential danger rather than actual risk. Are there actual risks? Sure. Are there actual risks walking out into the street? Sure. The question really is this more or less safe than, other spaces? And, is it also contributing to other spaces being more or less safe? And so there's certain things that we get really concerned about when, the internet technologies can enable offline, negotiations of criminals of all form, right? That's definitely a concern. As we are concerned about the mobile phone, as we are concerned about any gathering place that criminals can work together to do illicit behavior. That's actually where law enforcement needs to engage with these sites as a public space, just like they regulate and try to control, the plaza and all of the places that we go to. Because, in theory, you could walk out on the street and be murdered in a matter of seconds. Why aren't you, right? Most people don't actually want to murder you or anyone. There's all sorts of costs for potentially murdering you. And there's all sorts of regulatory structures around to make that, really something that you don't do. The same has to operate online. We need to find a way of dealing with this inside the structures that they are. Now, there's the question then of the safety, directly because of the net. Most of this comes around fears of abduction, fears of kidnapping, the possibility in which strangers will contact often children and do harm to them. The numbers do not play out to say that this is actually a problem. In fact, one of the scary things in the U.S., I don't know the stats in Italy at all, that's Sonia Livingstone's work, but in the U.S., the dominant problematic engagement between a minor and an adult involves a minor pretending to be older, engaging with an adult, knowing they're older, meeting up for sex, knowing it's about sex, and doing so repeatedly. Is it a problem? Yes. But is it a problem that since the myth of this, abducting old man? No. This is something that in the States we regulate as statutory rape. That's what the law is for. Say that there's a real problem when 30-something men have sex with 14-year-olds. And we think that's a big problem because there's issues of power, there's issues of consent. But when you deal with that kind of dynamic online, the way to address it is not simply to say adults can't interact with minors. That's useless. It's like saying adults can't interact with minors in the school. There's a teacher there. You may be interacting with peers, but there are all sorts of reasons why we interact with adults that are perfectly reasonable. And yet, even in schools, we run into problems between adults or between teachers and students. So all of these spaces, whatever space we have in, we have risks. But when we think about safety, we have to put it in a broader context. And we have to think about how we address safety more generally, right? How do you stop, mobs from doing danger within society? How do you stop criminals for directly harming individuals? And think about it as a broader ecology that's both online and offline. So that's why I say that is safety element. Then they have the reputation. In many ways, that's a more reasonable set of concerns is all the reputation ones. But there's something that we're working out. Reputation always has these shifts. Technology brings about that. I mean, think back to the rise of the press. The early days of the press were yellow journalism, right? It was about gossip. And we figured out how to find a societal balance. For most people, we still have far too much, in the way of gossip rags that harm people's lives. But part of it is figuring out, with this new media, how do we find that right balance?